Welcome to episode 89 of The Lowdown Show. I'm Neil Graham. This week I'm speaking with Aaron Pufal, who's far more than just a man with a gray beard. He's the gray beard behind the ADV Cannonball Coast to Coast GPS rally. However, this is not like the old Cannonball runs, the ones in which you'd go through Ohio at 3 a.m. at 150 miles per hour after having ingested a fistful of little white pills. No, this is a rally you can do in your GSA while following the law of the land. But you don't even need a bike that's more than you needed in the first place, because this is a cannonball you can do in your KLR, turning the cannonball into a bowling ball. Just add an extra bungee cord to your milk crate and off you go. And you can even opt out of the off-road sections and do this on your Electra Glide. All the news you need to know in the next 45 minutes. But first, a few words from the corporate entities that make the Lowdown possible. The Lowdown Show is presented by advrider.com and supported by ebaymotors.com. eBay has reinvented vehicle buying. From click to curb, everything's covered. With their new secure purchase, eBay isn't just where you find your car, it's where you buy it, start to finish. Title, financing, registration, delivery. It's all built in. And eligible vehicle purchases are backed by up to $100,000 in protection. This is what modern car buying looks like. Get your next ride on eBay. eBay. Things people love. Secure Purchase is powered by Caramel Dealer Services, LLC, an eBay subsidiary. In over 50 years of connecting riders to dirt, Fox Racing has learned that the best gear always has a discernible purpose and a strong point of view. The Ranger Defend and Recon Adventure Collection takes a minimalist approach to product design, with a clear mission of providing everything you need in adventure-ready gear and absolutely nothing you don't need. Minimalist chassis, fully seam sealed with Gore-Tex waterproofing and D30 CE level protection across the board. This gear is every bit as pure as the adventure you're chasing. Aaron, what is the adventure bike Cannonball? What's your, now you get asked this all the time. So I'm sure you have a short, a medium, and a long version. So give me the short version of what it is.
Essentially, it is a cannonball in its essence is when you go from coast to coast. Traditionally, Cannonball Baker did this from the New York coast to the California coast. And in our case, the ADV Cannonball, it's not really the newest of idea. I'm sure you're aware of the motorcycle Cannonball, which is a group of guys going from one coast to another. There's also the scooter Cannonball. So ours is a little more of a competition, a friendly competition, and we're a group of riders that go from one coast to the other over the course of about 8 days, and that changes from year to year.
Now, the word cannonball, at least for me, always. First of all, I love the idea of a scooter cannonball. That's just not right.
Me too.
It should be. Yeah. It should be something other than cannonball, maybe a bowling ball. But there's always the term cannonball. For me, the association has a certain degree of lawlessness, because I remember the cannonballs in the 70s. I remember reading about them in my brother's magazines, where guys that have Ferraris and muscle cars and go like hell right across the country. And I remember somebody running into hundreds of rabbits in Ohio or something. And of course the cops, and then it became the movie, which of course, made it even more legendary. So this is not that exactly.
No.
Yes and no.
This is not a race, to be clear. It is a friendly competition, and the main mission is to go and collect electronically checkpoints. So everyone leaves in the morning at a specific time. We pay a little homage to TSD rallies, so we leave in the same fashion that a TSD rally starts. And your mission is to, now this is the hard part, is to navigate yourself to various checkpoints, either on the paved backbone or on the optional off-road sections, and go and collect these checkpoints. And the person with the most checkpoints or the most points wins the overall winner's award. And I'll just say that I'm sure everyone's done a lot of rallies, and we don't have silly checkpoints, like we don't have to go and ring the bell or get on a horse or take a picture with with a mannequin or something. We just get them electronically. So we have a proprietary app that runs on a phone, And when you get to the checkpoint physically, most of them, 99% of them, are on your bike. You collect the points, and then you're off getting the next one. So it is a bit of a friendly competition, and it is a bit spirited. We're not going somewhere and taking pictures with the flag. We're getting the checkpoint, and we're moving on to the next one.
So if everybody leaves the common hotel first thing in the morning, correct? Common hotel, lodging for all.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it's very important. Yeah.
And this isn't a low end thing. You're staying at the Hilton, which isn't what it used to be, but still, it's a decent hotel. As you said in your notes, you don't like bed bugs and crusty carpets, and I'm right there with you on that one.
No, sir. I'm too old for that.
Too old for that kind of nonsense. But how do you score it? Because if everybody just starts off and it's not a race, and everybody just rides through the appropriate checkpoints, well, then what delineates me the winner from you in 47th place?
Well, you make a really good point, and I've struggled with this. And there are bonus points for the first to arrive each day at the hotel. And like any cannonball, everyone loves the academic discussion of, well, I'll just go get all the checkpoints and we'll all be tied. Well, I'm a bit of a, sadist, and there's a lot of checkpoints. There's 100 checkpoints to get, and there are some that are extreme checkpoints, and there are some that are difficult to get. So there's always this.
What would a difficult checkpoint be? Is that like a math question?
No. There's a difficult. No, we don't have anything like that. There are no tricks. There are no cerebral exercises. There is nothing like that. But
no essay writing competition. Nothing like that.
No, because I would fail miserably and I wouldn't be able to judge it. There is zero judging, to be clear. So there's no, well, you judge me incorrectly. It is it's a simple binary, either you achieve the checkpoint or not. But to the point that some are difficult, any cannonball, the spirit of a cannonball, there's a lot of fatigue, and there's a lot of, we need to get to sleep today. There may be a mechanical failure. Their weather is always an issue. So you, as an adult, have to decide whether you're going to go get checkpoint number 42 or not. Or it's been raining all day, and I shouldn't have ate that burrito, or I shouldn't have had too many beers last night, and I shouldn't try getting that extreme checkpoint because I'm slower than everyone else. Or I have a smaller fuel tank, and I can't get that checkpoint because I'm tired today. So you, as the rider, need to choose which checkpoints you want to get, in which order you want to get them, and you need to be strategic about your mission. So there are very few riders that come to this rally that actually want to win the overall winner's award. It's quite difficult. We find that there was only 5 or 6 people last year that actually were trying to win. And then by day 2, there was really only 2 or 3 people trying to win. And then by day 5, there was clearly just a competition between 2 people. And then we found most people just wanted to come for, having a well-curated motorcycle ride. But there are other awards that you can get. You can get the Checkpoint Crusher Award, which is getting every regular paved checkpoint. And we also have an award, which is the Rough Rider Award, which is getting every regular unpaved checkpoint. So you have to choose your mission, and your mission can change throughout the rally.
So if I understand this correctly, it's sort of it's cloaked as a competition, but really it's just a way. It's a ruse, isn't it? It's a ruse to get out and enjoy some great roads, and to challenge yourself. But the notion of I'm sure it's a 40-cent plastic trophy. So that's really not the point, correct?
Listen, I'll have you know that it is a highly prized glass obelisk. There is no plastic trophy from eBay here. I'll have you know, how dare you?
What's the value? Come on, $12 to $15, say?
It's at least $45 plus shipping.
Okay, well that changes everything. That changes everything.
But you are correct in the sense that most people are just there for the adventure, and there is a lot of work that goes into it. So even if I was just going to undertake this route, it's hundreds of hours of research and pre-riding, and selecting that road and making sure that it is possible to get to the hotel before dark if you are riding spiritedly, if you are efficient with your fuel stops, if you are not dilly-dallying, things of that nature. So there is a lot of work that goes into it, and we find that a lot of riders are just wanting to go for that type of adventure. But I think mostly everyone sets out with a mission to get a Checkpoint Crusher award or a Rough Rider award. And we haven't talked about it yet, but there is quite a few optional off-road sections. And I think there's some security in knowing that when you're setting off, whether it's your DR650 or a brand new 1300 GSA, that when you head off on an off-road route in another state, in another part of the country, that you're able to get to the end of that off-road section. There's a lot of stress being alone and going off-roading and not sure if you can make it through that area. So we make sure that our routes, whether they're paved or unpaved, are curated for a ADV bike, and you will be able to make it through. And by the time you make it to those off-road sections, people are usually riding with other folks, and there's some security with doing something that many would think is not so responsible, taking a 500-pound bike off-road, and you can actually make it to the end of that section.
So there will not be a helicopter reconnaissance crew there to help me pick up my GSA when I dump it over in a bit of gravel, correct? I'm on my own.
No, and you really hit the nail on the head, because the core tenet of our rally is self-reliance. In my mind, when I came up with this idea, it wasn't a support truck or a sweep vehicle. In my mind was the cliche guy. Well, it's me, really. It's a guy in his 50s with all this crap on the back of his ADV bike, and he is making his way to the next hotel, and is overloaded and is on a 5, 6, 7, 8 day mission. So that's exactly what this is all about: self-reliance, a little bit of a mission, and a friendly competition.
So the dirt sections aren't really like, this isn't hardcore off-road stuff at all, is it? It's kind of it's a somewhere between a dirt road and a bad dirt road. Is that sort of it?
You are entirely correct. And right. It is not like, how do I put this politically correct? It is not like some BDRs or something where it's the sake of a dirt road for a dirt road. If I'm putting you on an optional dirt road section, it's for a very good reason. It's an amazing vista, a great pass. Next year, we're going through Colorado during the fall colors, and it's going to be epic. So if I'm sending you down a dirt road, just as you say, you're going down that road for a reason. Whether it's in Moab and that road has 20 cute little water crossings, or it's through the edge of the world and it's got 15 switchbacks and the vista's amazing. We're going off-road for a purpose, and there's a payoff.
So it doesn't, in other words, you're saying that it doesn't just parallel the interstate for 8 miles just to kick up a little dust. You're actually going somewhere that you can only get there by a decent dirt road.
Absolutely. And I forgot to mention a point that you pointed out, is that the off-road sections are for exactly me, a guy in his 50s with a bike he shouldn't be riding, who doesn't get out enough. But it's going to be fun, and you can turn off the traction control, and you can act a little irresponsible if you want to in that cannonball spirit, and you're not going to get into a lot of trouble. However, I will say, the reason why I always say optional off-road sections is because I've given you a GPX backbone, which is on a paved route, which, by the way, is a great route. It's going to go through Zion National Park. It's going to go through Monument Valley. But if the weather turns, it is your responsibility, and solely your responsibility, to adult and choose that I'm not in the best of condition today. Maybe my tire, I've got the wrong tire because it's muddy, and you as the rider have to elect whether to go on that off-road section. But they are generally cool. They're high speed, they're fun, they're easy. and you're going to put some dust on your tires, and you're going to have a smile. But I will say, last year we had really, really bad weather, and we were in, I think, around 10,000 feet elevation in New Mexico. And there was one gentleman, we call him Iron Man. He was number 12. And, you know, he had a little too much speed, and he had an accident, and he broke his, I think it was his leg or his foot. But people came, they picked him up, they smashed his saddlebags straight. He went to the local clinic, they strapped on a boot. And not only did he finish that day's ride, he got every single checkpoint. He won a Checkpoint Crusher award and was the hero of the rally. And on the last day we had a Le Mans start, which was hilarious to see him do it on one foot and get rolled out in a luggage cart the next day. So this is really the spirit, which is be adult, choose the off-road sections you want to do, but there is no one going to help you but yourself.
Now, all of the dirt is optional, as I understand it. So I could do this on an Electra Glide, correct?
You absolutely could, and nothing makes me happier when there's an oddball entry. So one of the gentlemen last year, I think it was number 41. Anyways, his name was Jay, and his big ADV bike was broken or something. I don't remember. So he showed up on an Indian bagger, which was not in the best repair. And I was so happy to see him show up with this, because he showed up, and that's the Cannonball way. And he did the entire route. He had mechanical failure in Amarillo. Another rally goer.
That's halfway to a country song, Mechanical Trouble in Amarillo. But anyway.
Absolutely. That if we just put a backdrop of a dive bar, I'm a very happy man. And he had some repairs set up by another rally goer in Amarillo. And he made it to that day's hotel, which was the longest day. It was a very long day. It was about 750 miles. And he arrived at about midnight. And not only did he finish that day, he also earned a Checkpoint Crusher award on a bike that had nothing but mechanical failures. We have pictures of him on the side of the road trying to fix his, mechanical clutch. And he just showed that spirit, that resilience, and he just stuck with the paved section. But yeah, you can show up with anything.
What was the range of machines? Could I do this on I suppose you could do it on we can't on this website or on advrider.com. You have to address the KLR with the milk crate gang at your peril if you ignore them. Could you do it on a KLR with a milk crate?
Absolutely, and it should be an authentic milk crate and not a fake one that you buy.
No, exactly. I don't acknowledge fake milk crates. They've got to be stolen from a dairy, and they've got to have the thing on there saying this has been stolen from Bob's Dairy in Sheboygan.
Right. I wholeheartedly agree. So we had one gentleman who showed up on a DR650 from Colorado, and his DR650 blew up on the way to the start of the rally. But he phoned me and said, my bike is blowing up, but the parts are on their way. I'm in the parking lot of the Super 8, and I'm not sure the extent of his rebuild, but he fixed his DR650, met us, I think, on day 2 or 3, and continued with the rally. And he kept up. And my advice is, as long as you can do highway speeds, and, as long as...
Like legal highway speed, right? Or
of course,
legal plus.
Of course, breaking the law is forbidden according to the rules, and you have to sign a contract when you check in to that effect.
Oh, Mom, why do you always take the fun away?
No, you can be an adult and have all the fun you want, but just in case my lawyers are watching, it is perfectly safe to jump out of an airplane without a parachute if you are a lawyer. But anyways, that's a conversation for another day. No,
they'd be pushed, actually. If it was a lawyer, they would be pushed.
With my boot, probably.
Yeah, absolutely.
But yeah, that's my advice. So we had someone sign up for this year with a X-Max scooter. And I phoned the guy and I go, you realize that this is the ADV Cannonball, not the scooter Cannonball. And he took umbrage with what I had to say and was offended. And he says, my scooter can do 80 miles an hour. And I said, listen, I just wanted to make sure, and you will probably, win everyone's hearts, which is important, because, let's face it, the lion's share of competitors are in GSAs. And the person who won last year had a 900 GSA. And, those are the bikes that are probably going to win. But as we said earlier, not everyone is out to win, and it doesn't really matter what you're riding, as long as it's mechanically sound, and as long as you know how to repair your tire, and as long as you have the tools for your bike, and you have that spirit of independence. I don't care what you're riding, just as long as you can accomplish the mission.
eBay has reinvented vehicle buying. From click to curb, everything's covered. It's all thanks to their new secure purchase. Ever try to buy a car and end up in a parking lot with a stranger in some blind trust? Or spend half the day at a dealership talking to pushy salespeople and signing paperwork? Or maybe, worst of all, waiting for hours at the DMV just to transfer the title? Well, that era is over. For years, eBay has been the go-to for gearheads, collectors, and do-it-yourselfers, because whatever you're into, from classics to SUVs to trucks to imports, eBay's got it. And now with secure purchase, eBay isn't just where you find your next ride, it's where you can buy it, start to finish. Sellers and titles are verified, paperwork is handled by experts, and payments are traceable and digital. So you know exactly who you're dealing with and exactly what you're getting. Plus, you can finance, insure, and register your vehicle all in one place. No more hours at the dealership, no more trips to the DMV. Get your vehicle plates and paperwork shipped to your door, ready to drive. And it's all part of one seamless process, designed to feel as easy as buying anything else online. And eligible vehicles purchased on eBay are backed by up to $100,000 in purchase protection. Thinking about selling your ride? Secure Purchase makes that simple too, because you know your buyer and their funds are verified. If you still own your car, the financing payoff is fully integrated, so you're not chasing paperwork or waiting on checks to clear. And with Secure Purchase, you get paid fast, and you're not going to be stuck chasing no-shows or answering the fifth, "Is it still available?" message. This is what modern car buying looks like. Skip the DMV, skip the sketchy meetups, buy it on eBay. eBay, things people love. Secure Purchase is powered by Caramel Dealer Services, LLC, an eBay subsidiary. In over 50 years of connecting riders to dirt, Fox Racing has learned that the best gear always has a discernible purpose and a strong point of view. The Ranger Defend and Recon Adventure Collection takes a minimalist approach to product design, with a clear mission of providing everything you need in adventure-ready gear and absolutely nothing you don't need. Minimalist chassis, fully seam sealed with Gore-Tex waterproofing and D30 CE level protection across the board. This gear is every bit as pure as the adventure you're chasing. The Lowdown Show is presented by advrider.com and supported by ebaymotors.com. Well, one thing that you wrote on your website, which I found kind of funny and which would eliminate me from contention, which is that I'm not to call a family member to bring warmer gloves, because gloves are the thing that always, I've got issues with hands and gloves. So there is this sort of code of, there's a paradox at heart here. There is this code of self-reliance, and yet, because it's 2025, soon to be 2026, it's all digitally monitored, digital checkpoints. So there is kind of a funny thing here, isn't there? It's sort of you on your bike out in the world, but there's all these electronic points that are monitoring, your progress. It's sort of an interesting paradox. And not that I expect you to answer that, but did you catch anyone doing like having a support crew or a support truck, or did you catch anyone doing anything nasty?
No, and I think that essentially, I think that I don't see how that's going to help you. The few people that were in the lead were very much in the lead, and it was obvious. They were definitely out to win. And I can't see how a support truck could keep up. I left in the morning early. We have the rally van, which is affectionately called the Big Blue Whale. It's a sprinter van. And I have volunteers that help with starting in the morning. And, I couldn't make it to the hotels before other riders made that. The leaders made it there. So I don't see how anyone could benefit from that. These types of rallies are one because you have a plan, you know how to navigate, you know how to balance risk and reward, and you are not a hot shot. A great example of this is next year, we're really fortunate to have the actual Cannonball record holder. His name is Bo Ernest. And we've talked several times, and he will tell you that the people who win actual Cannonball records, they're not cheating. They're not getting extra support. They are approaching these things like engineers, like navigators. They have a plan. They have a backup plan. They have spent all year preparing for this. So those are the people that are winning. Those are the people that are succeeding. And if you try to cheat, I'm going to find out. And the rules are clear. Any unsportsmanlike conduct is disqualification, and you are not welcome back. But I don't think there's a purpose to cheat. I think, yeah, okay, maybe someone's called a friend on their headset and probably asked to help, with something. I can't really monitor that. But, let's look at rule number one. Rule number one is don't be an ADV weenie. And an ADV weenie is not someone who's going to show up. And rule number two is don't complain and don't, tattletale on people. Or I'm going to refer you to rule number one. So I think the rules are clear that we're trying to attract those type of people, and we're trying to dissuade dishonest and weenie type of people from attending the rally.
Let's get into the specifics. Your first rally was last year, and this year's rally starts in September in Massachusetts, the fine state of Massachusetts, and ends in Monterey, which is a lovely place on the California coast. Take me through, give me a thumbnail sketch of the route. Yeah,
so that, I always have a little bit of symbolism. So it starts in Plymouth Rock, and, we are victims of geography. So the first half of the first day is getting away from the coastline. It's a little flat, but then later on, the first and second day, we go through the Appalachian Mountains. A lot of that route is some fantastic twisty paved roads. It can be a little fatiguing, honestly. If you're riding a Honda Goldwing, you're probably going to want to give up through half the day and just punch in the address to the hotel and maybe give up. If you're on a Ducati Multistrada, you're probably tearing it up. I've heard rumor of guys this year, drop shipping tires to change tires for the western half for the off-road section, so they can have street tires for the first half.
Oh, clever,
so typically,
clever.
Yeah. So that's typically the eastern part of the country is really twisty roads. And I will put checkpoints to force you into these really great roads. So a checkpoint just may be in the middle of a road, or it may be, somewhere really interesting and picturesque.
And the checkpoints are all electronic, correct? You don't stop and sign your name, or
No. This drives me crazy. I've done rallies with amazing effort to get somewhere, and I gotta find a mariachi band and take a picture with them. I'm like, I'm out. I have no interest in this, right? But you ride to the checkpoint. You have a phone, and there's an app running on it, and you pick up the checkpoint and move on. And
so because, and just to be clear, is it when you pass the checkpoint, does it say that does it give you an indicator that you actually have passed it?
Absolutely, yeah.
It does. Okay.
You're really drilling on I put a ton of money into this damn app. The first year was a giant hole that I shoveled money into it, and part of it was developing the proprietary app to do all the things that I hated about rallies.
Oh, I see.
And the phone just sits on your handlebars, and as you ride through or walk to the checkpoint, it beeps, and it registers the checkpoint. And if your phone is not online at that particular moment, it will store the achievement internally. And then the next time your phone is connected to a cell phone signal, it will report that achievement to the database, and everyone publicly or all the competitors can see the points accumulate in real time. So there's no judgment, there is no, well, I don't think you got it. It is binary. You achieved it, or if you didn't, you either achieved it or you didn't. I'm happy to report there were 0 failures with the app. I was a little concerned, if we're honest, because I wasn't able to stress test it, that app. And one of the things that the app does is I can see everyone in real time, and so can the public. So if you're a tracker junkie and watching the website, you can see all the riders take off and track across the country and going to achieve these checkpoints. And sometimes it's really riveting, because I've had to pull over on the side of the highway and I'm like, oh my God, what is this guy doing? And why is he going over there? And I'm like, oh, I think he's going to skip this checkpoint and try to get the first to arrive bonus. And so being a tracker junkie, just watching the screen can be entertaining, for days. It's great fun.
Especially if you don't get out much. So we've left Plymouth, Massachusetts, and we are working our way west. Now, I presume that most of the off-road stuff is in the west. Is that correct?
Absolutely. And after we leave the Appalachian mountains, what we have in the middle of America, that's something that's not avoidable. We have what I call the doldrums of the continent. And that's going to be your slab day. But a slab day can be fun too. It's everyone ripping down the highway. I'll have less checkpoints on that section. And then next year's rally, we hit the edge of the mountains in Colorado. And that's when in 2026, each day the route will diverge quite a bit. And then people will have to choose at the beginning of those days whether they're going to do the optional off-road or they're going to stick to the paved section. And yeah, there are checkpoints off-road and there are checkpoints on-road. And at that point, people will choose as they head west, as you say, to get into the good stuff.
How many days? How much mileage per day, and how many days is the total route?
Right. So, it's going to be usually around 8 days. And I hate to say it's not about the mileage, because it's really about the time. So expect to be in the saddle all day. And we leave basically at sunrise, and I hope that everyone gets in by sunset. I don't really like anyone being out after dark. I understand things happen, but you should be able to get there after dark. So 8 days, you're going to be riding all day. And if you're doing the optional off-road sections, you should probably be quick. You shouldn't be, timid about being off-road. I'm not saying you have to be power sliding around corners like a YouTuber, but you should be rather quick through the optional off-road sections as a general rule.
So if you have to do everything in first gear, it's probably not for you.
It's not for you, but you can do a small section of it. So if you're in Colorado and you want to do Tin Cup Pass, because it's a compact gravel route and not in Moab where it can be a little bit of sand, you can choose which sections, the optional off-road sections that you want to do, and we can help you with that. So in the morning, everyone's at the hotel getting breakfast, and you can ask someone, hey, I'm thinking of doing a little bit of off-road. I got in on time yesterday, and I'll say, yeah, you should probably do this pass, but definitely avoid this sandy section in California. Or maybe you have a smaller bike and you've been struggling, with the high mileage highway days, but you're just ready to rip across the desert. So, sorry, I lost the mic there.
Speaking of ripping across the desert.
Yeah, we're ripping across the desert. Yeah. So you may be a bit timid about one section because of the equipment that you have or your riding skill set, but you may be excited about a different section.
How did you determine the route?
Yeah, so the route is my bucket list, riding, whether it's last year we did, like, let's say the back of the Dragon in the mountains. We did the Ozarks. And then there are some rim roads that were just amazing that were off-road. Basically, a great way to describe it is like on a Butler map, there are G1 roads across the country, and I string these epic sections together and make sure that you can accomplish them in a day. And when it comes to the optional off-road stuff, like I said, I don't want to send someone down a dirt road or a trail for no particular reason. So it may look like there's not a lot of off-road, but there's always that balance between, most of us work, most of us have lives and families and dogs to walk and things like this. So, and you have to get to the rally and get home from the rally. So I figure 8 days is about right, plus those other sides of it. So choosing the route to do a cannonball and get across the country, have some friendly competition, and do some awesome off-roading, that's the secret sauce here. And you've kind of asked an important question is, I don't like it when people say, well, I'll just take the TAT and go across the country. And I'm like, it's not that easy. If you think about it, how am I going to get a group of grown men across the country on the TAT in 8 days? That's not happening. And then how are we going to house everyone? And how are we going to have community at night in a decent hotel? So you've asked the important question is, it is hard to plan that route. And I think I try to find that balance. I will say this year is a little harder. There's a couple hundred extra miles. The off-road sections are a little longer, but as we do this over and over again, we will dial up and dial down those factors.
Now, do you ride? Have you ridden every section, or is it based on map navigation? How do you go about determining?
Yeah, that's a really good question. So I have absolutely ridden every section. In my former life, one of my responsibilities was planning private rallies for my employer for the last 15 years. And I've absolutely ridden all the routes. However, I will say we love a good volunteer, and it's important to ride these routes every spring. And I'll give you some examples. Last year, there was a rock slide that permanently closed one of the off-road sections, and it was one of the best sections. And so I had to make a last-minute route adjustment. There are some things that are outside of my control, which are fantastic. So last year we had the government shutdown, and one of the rules is once a checkpoint is issued, it doesn't get rescinded. And again, in that, I'm going to sound cliche here, the cannonball spirit was, and I think you touched on it, was, listen, I've issued the checkpoint, and if there's a government shutdown, like there was 3 or 4 checkpoints that were inside federal parks, and nothing made me happier than being at the hotel and watching little red dots go up to the edge of one of these barricaded things, and then watching them just continue into the park and go getting the checkpoints. I'm like, yes, you guys, you guys have really found the spirit that nothing is going to stop you, right? And in my mind's eye, I could just see a 65-year-old guy on his GSA with a huge grin on his face while he went around a close sign and got a checkpoint and ripped out and came to the hotel, and everyone had a great war story. So once the checkpoint
probably the most lawless thing he's ever done.
Right, and totally harmless, right? Yeah, exactly. Yeah, there was one checkpoint that was irresistible. It was a stack of cannonballs, and I think it was inside of just beyond a cemetery. And there were guys in the middle of the night, grown men hopping over the fence of a cemetery to get a checkpoint in the middle of the night. So it was really great to see everyone come back to the hotel with a smile on their face.
So the 2026 version begins in September. I think it's mid-September. Am I not, if I'm correct about that?
Yeah, it starts then because we want to get through the high passes in Colorado just before the snow.
Right.
But we also want to get some fall colors. So the geography will always determine the start date.
And how many total participants do you have?
So we will definitely be sold out. I'm limiting this one to 100 entries. Not everyone will show up, but it's limited to 100. And this year we're providing a Hilton group link. So you pay your entry fee, which is $1,000. That gets you the GPX tracks, the scoring app, the awards banquet, your awesome award that is not plastic. And you get these links that are deeply discounted through our partners at Hilton. And yeah, you just click and book the hotels on your own. It was a little tough for me to handle all that last year. So it seems to be a model that's working well so far.
So $1,000 US gets you entry and access to the checkpoints, and then all you need is your cell phone, correct? And how do you navigate?
Yeah, these are great questions. So you need a separate cell phone. You need preferably an Apple device because they are simply more stable. And my advice is, if you don't have an extra iPhone, most people have one lying around, or they can steal a kid's, just go get a decent used iPhone for $200 from eBay. It's a small investment compared to your $35,000 GSA that's all farkled out. So please don't complain. Remember, follow rule number 2. No whining. No complaints. No whining, exactly. And that cell phone has to be in clear view of the sky. It has to be continuously powered. And that's really the only extra equipment that you need. The navigation is up to you. So already we have published the backbone, the GPX file. There will be some people that will just follow the GPX file. But 30 days prior to the event, we will issue the checkpoints. And at that point, you can start the riveting, geeky exercise of programming whatever GPS you choose, whether it's another phone or your built-in navigation, of how you want to navigate to what checkpoints you choose. So some people are really precise about it. Some people enjoy that exercise, and some people show up and go, well, I'm just going to ride with Bill and he's got it all figured out. So there's definitely
that would be me.
People.
That would be me. Oh my God. You just paid me. I'd ride. I'd just follow Bill. And if Bill went off a cliff, I'd go right after him.
I think, if you're going to do all this effort, at least try for one of the awards. At least try for a checkpoint crusher, or at least try for a Rough Rider. And I don't care if you're interviewing someone who's just finished a Dakar or a Baja 1000. Navigation is one of the most challenging aspects of any kind of rally, and this is no different. So make sure that you know how to follow the route, or at minimum have written down on the back of a bar napkin the address to the next day's hotel. So if you're totally screwed, at least you can make it home.
Now, just for sake of argument, let's go back to the Milk Crate KLR rider. Say I'm 62 and I'm still living in my mother's basement. She's 97. This is not me, by the way. This is a fictitious rider who may be listening right now. And say money's a little tight because I've never really had a proper job. Can I camp or sleep in the ditch or curl up in a dumpster? I don't need to stay at the hotel, do I?
I would highly discourage this. Again, you can be an adult, and put down your PS3 controller and come join us. There are a lot of reasons not to do that. The hotels aren't much. Like the hotel in Las Vegas, for example, is $99. The one in Plymouth is $140. There's one hotel that's a little pricey in Moab, but it's a really nice hotel, and we're going to have a great night out. You're going to miss out on most of the rally, besides the awesome riding and the checkpoints and the competition and all that fun stuff. You're going to miss out hanging out with the boys in the parking lot, cracking a can of beer and helping you with a problem you have with your motorcycle. It would be a mistake not to stay at our hotels. And it would just be awkward. Like, what are you going to do? You're going to ride into the back of the hotel for the start and have your camping gear in the back. That's not really that's not really this rally. That's more the scooter cannonball. And we're big supporters of the scooter cannonball. We think it's great. If I wasn't 200 pounds and wouldn't look like a football on a flea, I would absolutely enter the scooter cannonball because I think it's awesome. And that's the type of cannonball that it's more spread out. You can stay in whatever hotel. They don't have an official start. That's more the rally for you. So the answer is yes, I suppose you could, but I would discourage it, and you would be missing out on a lot of the fun.
Because as we all know, bullshitting and a fair degree of exaggeration is part of the motorcycling rally.
Nothing makes me happier when someone shows up and they've got the winner of the last rally. He dumped his bike on day one, probably a little too enthusiastic, let's just say. And here he is running to the hardware store and buying self-tapping screws and putting his plastics together and getting a hammer and smashing his shifter straight. And then he went on to win. And also, even though there was some fierce competition at the front running, nothing made me happier, not to sound like a sentimental old guy, but watching these 30-something-year-old guys coming in, and they're neck and neck, but there's no more points to get that day. And so on the GPS tracker, I could see them riding together. I'm like, yeah, you guys are exactly the guys. You're coming to the hotel together. There's a common destination. And by the way, the final checkpoint is always at the entranceway to that evening's hotel. That's the finish line of the day. So it's really cool to see people, fixing bikes together, helping each other, talking about tech and checkpoints, and hopefully a minimum amount of complaining and whining.
And I mean, given the length of the rally, I sort of presume that you can take 2 weeks off and do it. That's kind of the idea behind it, is it not? Because if it's 8 days, you got a couple days to get there. You got a couple days to have a good nap and bore your family to tears, actually, now that I think about it, with stories from your 8 days on the road, and then go back to work the following Monday.
Yeah. So we have riders coming from all over. So we already have 2 riders from the UK. We have a rider from Norway. And for those people, for sure, you want to come in early. You want to get rid of your jet lag. You want to get acclimated. A lot of people will ride to the start. We have a partnership. Once you finish your first rally, people will answer your phone call. So we have a partnership with Hall Bikes, and they're sending a tractor trailer to the finish line. So that's always a challenge, is what do you do with your bike at the end if you need to get home to your job as a dental assistant?
Right.
What do you do? So it will be easier each year because Hall Bikes will always send a tractor trailer to the end. So you can literally do the awards banquet, go to bed that night, and I will be there to manage your bike pickup. So you can just leave the next day and go back to your regular life. But you're exactly right. Schedule a couple of weeks. There are always some retired guys, and it was so great to, we always have an informal rally chat on WhatsApp. And it was really cool to see the retired guys who rode to the beginning and then rode home from the end, and I could watch them on the tracking app on the way home. And it was like a week later, we were, so-and-so finally made it home, and everyone else is, back to their regular lives. So everyone has their own individual story and their own schedule, for sure.
Just to wrap things up, you have the goal of taking this to Europe as well in 2027. Is that correct?
Yeah. So in all honesty, to make it financially viable and not, be that giant, hole that I shovel money into, I need to have 2 rallies run a year. So we will always have an Americas rally. So at the beginning of the season or the end of the season, there will be one in the Americas. In the future, I love to see it end like in the Baja. I would like to see it start maybe in Newfoundland or something wacky. And then every year we will have one in Europe or one that kind of moves around. So starting in 2027, there is a European Cannonball. I expect that to be more of a grassroots start. I have already shipped my motorcycle over there. I'm going there in May. I'm going there for a whole month, and I'm going to pre-ride the route and make sure that it works. They don't have the resources in Europe the way that we have here, like with Butler Maps and public resources. So there's a lot of riding that needs to be done. I don't know all the hotels to make sure the hotels are going to be good and so on and so forth. So the plan is every year to have the Americas, and at the other side of the season, the European one. I see that maybe moving in the future. Maybe one year we do, the main island of Japan. Maybe we do Australia. So that part of the rally can move around the world. But in broad strokes, there'll be an Americas and a Europe one. And for the people that come back every year, like for instance, the gentleman who won last year, we came up like, why would he come back? So we have a hat trick trophy. So if you get the overall winner, a checkpoint crusher, and a rough rider in any one of the ADV Cannonballs, then you're eligible to win the hat trick trophy, which of course will be an $80 piece of glass.
eBay has reinvented vehicle buying. From click to curb, everything's covered. Ever try to buy a car online and end up in a parking lot with a stranger and some blind trust? Well, that era is over. Now, with secure purchase, eBay isn't just where you find your car, it's where you buy it, start to finish. Title, financing, registration, delivery. It's all built in. This is the modern way to buy your next ride on eBay. eBay, things people love. Secure purchase is powered by Caramel Dealer Services, LLC, an eBay subsidiary. Thank you for listening to The Lowdown Show.